you.
My name is Eden, and I'm a Paralympic wheelchair racer, British record holder, and Boston Marathon winner. But I wasn't born as an elite athlete, and when I was born, I was diagnosed with sacroagenesis, which means that for about 75% of the time, I use a wheelchair. And in school, I was known as Eden, the kid in a wheelchair. And yeah, you know, people see a wheelchair as a defining characteristic of who you are. And this is something that I've seen all throughout my life. But as soon as I started sport, this was something that changed for me. And in London 2012, there was the iconic Olympic and Paralympic Games. And I also started senior school right as the Paralympic Games were on. It was the first time as a kid I had seen, well, to be honest, I had seen any kind of sport, and especially parasport. I grew up, and there was no role models for me, and I just never realized that there was a space for someone like me with a disability in sport. And I remember watching it with my mum, and I was finally starting to understand that actually people with disabilities can do anything, and sport was just another thing that I could do. It was only towards the end of the Games that I really understood how impactful that they could be for someone like me. And when I was in school, people used to ask me after watching the Paralympics, oh, are you going to be a Paralympian? You know, you're in a wheelchair, are you going to be a Paralympian? And at the time, I was like, no way, no chance. I don't like sport, I don't want to do that. But yeah, well, clearly that all kind of changed. Watching the marathon in 2012 as well, and watching David Weir win it and Shelley Woods fighting to the end and getting a silver medal was incredible. Not only were they these amazing British athletes, but just seeing the drive and the fight that all of the athletes had in that marathon, it truly was incredible. And for me, that was the heart of the Paralympic Games, and that's something that sticks in my mind completely about 2012. Some really good photos of me coming up. The success of 2012 really was life-changing for a lot of young disabled people. You know, before then, the Paralympics weren't as big and they weren't really spoken about. And yeah, I mean, people just weren't as involved as they are now. And after 2012, schools became really involved in getting kids like me with disabilities into sport and trying new things. And I was completely taken by that and really impacted by it. My school actually took me to something called Playground to Podium, which I believe is still going on now. And it basically just took a load of disabled kids to go and try all kinds of different sport. And I didn't even want to go, but my mum signed the permission slip to make me go. And then, yeah, that all happened. But it was where I tried wheelchair racing for the first time. And I was like hooked. I don't know for how many of you it's happened, but you try something and you go, this is going to change my life completely. And I honestly, like in my head, I was going a million miles an hour and my hair was in the wind, I was having the time of my life. But I was probably in reality going about 2 miles an hour down this track in this beaten up, crazy chair. But I mean, yeah, I fell so in love with it. And I went home and begged my mum to take me to an open day at the Weir Archer Academy, which is run by David Weir and Jenny Archer. And I mean, what names to be run by? So when we went there and I met Dave for the first time, I was completely starstruck. Dave has been, not just in the UK, but over the entire world, one of the most influential names in Paralympic sport, winning 4 golds at London and endless London marathons as well. He has really changed the game for people and just inspired so many. And I really had no idea how lucky I would be and how important Dave and Jenny would become to me. Jen is truly one of the women that I look up to most in this world. She has so much incredible knowledge about everything to do with sport. And she, throughout my entire career, has been such a huge, constant source of encouragement for me. And I have nothing but admiration for her. And she told me not so long ago, actually, never look back, only look forward, and you'll do great things. And that is something, for me, that I tell myself when things get hard. But at the start of most training sessions, and when you wake up in the morning and go, I don't want to be an athlete today, that's something that sticks in my head to, no, get up and go and do it. But being a kid with a disability isn't easy. It's a really hard thing, and for me, I didn't have any role models growing up. I went to a school where I was the only kid in a wheelchair. I'd go and have lots of operations on my legs, and I'd be in the casts, and it felt like it was just me a lot of the time. And it also felt like when you're a kid, those normal dreams of what you want to be, they didn't apply to me. I wasn't going to be an astronaut, and I wasn't going to be a dancer or a police officer or whatever else there was. That just didn't feel to me like it was something that I could dream about. And now, even still, even though my disability is only physical, throughout my entire life I have been treated as if it is more, and I have an intellectual disability also. I have people constantly talk down to me or slow down their words to make sure that I can understand. And yeah, when I was going to universities, actually, that was something that happened to me. And they would talk to my parents about me instead of talking to me like I wasn't there, like I didn't exist as a person. I was just a wheelchair. Yeah, but I made my choice about which university to go to based on how I was treated on those days. And I still make a lot of choices about things like that based on how I am treated as a person, not how I am spoken about to other people. And like Dom had said, I remember being at school and telling the careers advisor I was going to be an elite athlete. And now at the time, I was one of the best in the world at a junior level. I was really doing good things at a junior level, and there was an actual career path that was forming for me. But I was told, well, you don't look like an athlete. Are you sure that's something that you can do? Why don't you try this or that or other things? Which, to me, I can understand both sides, but you tell a 14-year-old they can't do what they want to be. That doesn't sit right with me. And that's something that, for me, I take through me. And yeah, now whenever anyone doubts me, I kind of go, right, you told me I can't, so now I am going to go and do it, regardless of what you say. But when I do wheelchair racing and when I started sport, every single part of that just left. That noise that constantly was being told and spoken at me and in my head about you can't do this, you can't do that, whatever. That was gone. And when I trained at Weir Archer, I was surrounded by so many other people like me. I finally had role models, and they weren't just incredible at sport and fast, but they were also living a successful and a normal life, which is something that doesn't really feel possible when you're a young child in a wheelchair, because it's just something that you don't see. And no one there told me that I couldn't do anything. In fact, they were all doing the opposite. They told me that I could push it further and be better and be the person that I wanted to be. And it was then, when I met all of these incredible people like me, that I decided, actually, I make my own destiny. I get to decide the rules, and no one can tell me what is and what isn't possible. And then I continued on as a junior with Weir Archer and all of this incredible racing experience until COVID hit. And then, like a lot of people during COVID, I got really sick with it. And I had to stop racing, and it was just horrible. I couldn't see any way to get back to where I was. And in the first lockdown, I was at university, in this tiny hall room, which I couldn't even get my day chair into and fit in it properly. We weren't allowed in the kitchen at the same time as our other flatmates. There was just it was complete isolation, and it was horrible. There was no way to train, and it was just I went from this completely active, healthy lifestyle to being fully sedentary in this tiny, tiny room. And it was just horrific. Yeah, it was really bad. But then around the time of the second lockdown, sort of towards the end of it, I got a message from someone saying, do you want to try and give sport one last go? Do you want to try and come back into it? Because we have the Commonwealth Marathon next year, and we think that you might have a chance at it. And I went, not sure, but let's give it a go. A goal to work towards, let's try. And at first, I could only do some small circuit training in my room, just trying to get some fitness back. And then when I first got back in the chair, I literally pushed 400 meters and went, no, this is horrific. This is hell. I honestly thought that I was going to die. But slowly and slowly, Jen and Dave sort of got me back into it and really helped me. I had one-to-one training sessions with Jenny, and Dave would come around and push around with me and sort of get that speed back. And I am so, so lucky that I had them there during that time, because I don't think that I ever would have been able to get back to the point that I was able to get to before it. And then the Paris Marathon came. This was my first marathon in a very, very long time, after 6 months of hard work. And thankfully, if everything went to plan, it was a really good race, and it qualified me for the Commonwealth Games. And not just that, it also was my first ever event win. And I remember going, and I went with my mum, and we hadn't really told anyone we were doing it, because if I didn't qualify, it would have been this big thing, and then you kind of have to go, oh, well, it didn't go as planned, and all of the stuff that comes along with that. And my mum said the day before, she went, my face just went white. I went so pale as the realization hit that in the morning I was going to have to push 26 miles. And I was going to have to actually just go the full hog and have no stops and really go for it. And yeah, that was truly terrifying. And still to this day, every time I wake up and it's marathon day, I go, oh no, why do I do this? But it's always worth it, for sure. But after the Paris Marathon, about 3 months later, was the Commonwealth Games, where I came away with a silver medal. In my second ever marathon, I came away with a silver medal, which was just absolutely beyond belief. And it was at the Commonwealth, at that moment when I sort of crossed the line, that I realized, oh, this is me. I have found my time, I have found my space, and it is the marathon, which to someone who wanted to be a 100-meter sprinter when they first joined was like out of this world crazy. But, you know, marathons are the best, I think, at least. And then last year, I won the Boston Marathon. It was, thank you. Thank you. It was, probably the best day of my life, to be honest. Winning a marathon major was a dream before I even really knew what it was. You know, I used to watch Manuela and Dave and all these other people win these massive races and be like, whoa, I want to do that. I want to win. But last year, I had absolutely zero thoughts in my head that I would ever win it. In fact, my first Boston was one of my worst races ever, and it was so painful, and I cried going up Heartbreak Hill. And, you know, so I just went last year and thought, as long as I don't cry pushing up Heartbreak Hill, I'm happy. That's a good day. We're all sorted. I had some idea that I'd be fast on the downhill. That's always been my strong point. But then I was like, the girls will catch me up on the first hill, and that'll be fine. I'll just try and stick in with them. And then 10K came, and there was no one in sight. And I was like, okay, maybe I could come top 3, but I'm still definitely going to get taken over. There's no chance. Halfway hit, same thing, same thoughts. No way I'm winning. Boo-hoo, you'll be fine. 30K. Then I started thinking, maybe something, I actually thought maybe something had happened to the other girls. And then it was only really on that last turn onto Boylston that I was like, ooh, okay, I could win it, but still I think that someone is gonna take me on the finish line. I'm gonna have come all this way and get pipped on the finish line, and that's gonna be it. And when my front wheel hit that finish line, I mean, yeah, you can see it here, and I went through the tape, I was so happy. There aren't words to describe it. But it was this immense sense of relief that the last 10 years of work and hardship and everything that I had been through to get here was worth it. Yeah, and I know runner's high is a thing, but I think if anyone gets the chance, you should try and win a marathon major and get that high, because that's really, that's a really, really good feeling. And when I look back at everything that I faced growing up and coming up and going from having no role models like me to now being someone that someone can look up to, I know that that little 12-year-old version of me would be really, really proud of me. And wheelchair racing is a really hard sport to get into as well. It is extremely, extremely expensive. So last year, I spent probably, I mean, I spent over £2,000 just on tyres. Probably double even. Some that like just go the first time you use them, others that I try and never use again. Racing wheelchairs, they're completely custom made to our bodies to fit, and they can range from around £6,000 up to about the £50,000 mark. Some even more, to be honest. And I like to say it's a bit like cars. Some have like these Ferraris, these super fast, carbon fiber, light, incredible high-tech things. And others, like me, are in a Ford Fiesta that's still a good car. It's still really fast and reliable, but it's maybe like the lifespan's maybe a bit shorter. It's a little bit harder to get into. And unfortunately, affordability is a massive factor now in whether or not you can take part in wheelchair racing. Even from a young age, if you want to have a racing wheelchair, which is going to progress you, you're looking at like, well, now around £6,000, which is really hard to afford. And for me, I was incredible enough and very lucky to have so many people that helped me when I fundraised for my chair, which cost around £12,000. And has since had many modifications and upgrades and all these different things to try and keep up with how quickly wheelchair racing is growing, and the technology is improving. And so for me, like, I'm completely unsponsored, and every time I get on a start line, every time I'm there not just to try and win, but I'm there literally fighting to be able to afford to live. I have a part-time job as well that helps me to afford my rent, and wheelchair racing is sort of the added extra, but genuinely all it would take is one bad year in the chair for me to no longer be able to compete at an elite level, to be able to afford all of the things that I need. And that's why London is, for me, one of the best races. You know, we have equal prize money here compared to the able-bodied athletes, something that, as of yet, the other marathons haven't been able to match. But it's getting better. It's getting better each time. But it also means that London, we all bring our A game. Every single athlete wants to win it. We want that money. We want to be seen as the equals to the able bodies in the eyes of the public and everyone else. And so, like, when you see us fighting out there, it feels like life and death. We are going there to win, to get this prize money. And also, most of us competed at Boston on Monday. So we do this 6-day massive turnaround of going from Boston, having these massive highs or massive lows, trying to settle out, and then going, right, now it's time for London. Now we have to start all over again, start from fresh, forget about whatever's happened, and go out there and try and win again. But for me, London is a home crowd, and it's great. It's lovely. I love it. You know, I have friends there. Family sometimes come, which is great for me, and it really boosts me. And if any of you want to come and watch, we will also be finishing around 10:30, 11. So it'd be nice to hear some screams if you guys are there. But what I kind of want to leave this note on is wheelchair racing doesn't have as many opportunities for things like sponsorship, equal prize money, and media opportunities. But sort of, it's something that is changing, and it is getting better and better. But what I do want to say is sort of, para-athletes, we have to think outside the box. But we also don't have a voice in a room we're not invited into. So we want to have these conversations and be able to share our experiences with everyone and come up with solutions, but we need to be able to invite it in to do that. And we want to have those hard conversations. So for anyone here, or if you know anyone that wants to have those hard conversations, try and get us in the room, and we can do anything. And we can really try and open people's minds and come up with solutions that work for everyone. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen for me. And yeah, have a great day. Thank you.